wrong apartment. They were not at the wrong apartment. He said, quote, they had the wrong address. He also said the real suspect was already in custody, end of quote. Well, the real suspect had a warrant served on him around the same time. And by real suspect, by the way, they were interested in 3 men. And their principal suspect was at another place. They knew that. They were serving warrants, executing these warrants on several people at the same time. But it was Ben Crump, that lawyer who's involved in the case of this black man who just got shot and killed in L.A., and is involved in the case of the woman who was killed in her apartment, Breonna Taylor, in Louisville, and said that these officers were at the wrong address when in fact they weren't. And by the way, you keep hearing that it's a no-knock warrant, no-knock warrant. Well, the officers knocked anyway. And no, she was not in her bed. And when the officers knocked down the gun, someone inside the apartment, not her, but apparently her boyfriend, shot, and they returned fire. And he was not hit, but she was, and she was killed. And the lead officer involved apparently was already fired. The others are under investigation. Can we get some facts here before we start talking about putting up billboards saying justice for Breonna Taylor? The other officers were placed on administrative reassignment, and one of them has since been fired. He was accused by the interim police chief of, quote, blindly, close quote, firing 10 rounds into the apartment. The police chief said this, quote, I find your conduct a shock to the conscience. I'm alarmed and stunned that you use deadly force in this fashion, end of quote. It's now in the hands of the Kentucky AG, the one that spoke at the RNC convention. And the FBI has also opened up an investigation. But it is not true that the police were at the wrong apartment. It's not true that they knocked down the door without knocking. The police say they knocked. By the way, other witnesses say they did not hear a knock, so that's still in dispute. But the matter is being investigated, and the person leading the investigation happens to be a black AG. So can we maybe wait until perhaps the investigation has been concluded before we decide that we're unhappy with how things are going? That the whole idea about having, quote, people of color in positions of responsibility like this black AG was to assure people that whatever happens, an investigation is going to be thorough. What happened to that?